Welcome to Jersey Reads the Classics, an audiobook podcast delving into the finest works of our literary masters. Unfortunately, it's read by this woman.
What the hell? Who cares? Let's go on an adventure.
Hello, and welcome back to Jersey Reads the Classics with me, your host, Rosa DeCandia. Hello, my friends. Thank you again for joining me. And, you know what? We're just going to proceed to our next chapter. Well, it's not even a chapter, our next fairy tale. Into the woods we go again. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying these fairy tales because I'm enjoying these fairy tales. I'm not going to lie. They do pack a lot of lessons. And what's great about it as an adult to read these stories, you really can get a lot of meat out of this. My God, who would think like these tales would, but that's what it's about. This is what's great. When you read it to children, if you're not just reading it to them, you read it to yourself, you really can get some good morals. So I hope you're enjoying that. Well, without any further ado, let's go back to our book, Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. In this episode, we will be reading Hans in Luck. Hans had served his master for 7 years, so he said to him, 7, it's a magical number, that's my magic number. But isn't that funny? Another story, the other story that we did with the girl with the cut off hands, 7 years. See, look up 7. Okay, master, my time is up. Now I should be glad to go back home to my mother. Give me my wages. The master answered, you have served me faithfully and honestly. As the service was so, the reward shall be. And he gave Hans a piece of gold as big as his head. Jesus! Hans pulled his handkerchief out of his pocket, wrapped up the lump in it, put it on his shoulder, and set out on the way home. As he went on, always putting one foot before the other, that's what you do when you walk, he saw a horseman trotting quickly and merrily by on a lively horse. Ah, said Hans quite loud, what a fine thing it is to ride. There you sit as on a chair, you stumble over no stones, you save your shoes, and get on one hardly knows how. The rider, who had heard him, stopped and called out, hello, Hans, why do you go on foot then? I must, answered he, for I have this lump to carry home. It is true that it is gold, but I cannot hold my head straight for it, and it hurts my shoulder. Oh, Gewalt, here he already has divulged too much, okay? Let's see where he goes with this. I will tell you what, said the rider. We will exchange. I will give you my horse, and you can give me your lump. Oh, my God, poor Hans. Maybe Hans has luck, but he's also a schmuck. Can I just say something? The horseman knew Hans. So the horseman is a friend of Hans, and he's already hoodwinking him? Terrible. That's just bad form. As what's his face, Captain Hook would say, bad form, horseman, bad form. Okay. With all my heart, said Hans, but I can tell you, you will have to crawl along with it. The horseman's like, bitch, I don't care. I got a lump of gold, you schmuck. The rider got down, took the gold, and helped Hans up. Then gave him the bridle, tightened his hands, and said, if you want to go at a really good pace, you must click your tongue and call out, jump, jump. Hans was heartily delighted as he sat upon the horse and rode away, so bold and free. Free, I've done this before, free as the wind blows. I love that song. After a little while, he thought that it ought to go faster, and he began to click with his tongue and called out, jump, jump. The horse put himself into a sharp trot, and before Hans knew where he was thrown off and lying in a ditch which separated the field from the highway. Obviously, Hans has been working for 7 years, and he hasn't been working on his equestrian skills. The horse would have gone off, too, if it had not been stopped by, hello, who was he being stopped by? Another man, a countryman, who was coming along the road and driving a cow before him. Hans got his limbs together and stood up on his legs again, but he was vexed and said to the countryman, it is a poor joke, this riding, especially when one gets hold of a mare like this that kicks and throws one off so that one has a chance of breaking one's neck. Never again will I mount it. Now, I like your cow, for one can walk quietly behind her and have, over and above, one's milk, butter, and cheese every day without fail. What would I not give to have such a cow? "Well," said the countryman, "if it would give you so much pleasure, I do not mind giving the cow for the horse." Hans agreed with the greatest delight. The countryman jumped upon the horse and rode away quickly. Okay, here we go again. Hans now has gone from a lump of friggin' gold to a wonderful horse to now a cow. Let's see what happens here. Hans drove his cow quietly before him and thought over his lucky bargain. "If only I had a morsel of bread, and that can hardly fail me. I can eat butter and cheese with it as often as I like. If I am thirsty, I can milk my cow and drink the milk. Good heart, what more can I want?" Okay, I see what he's talking about. When he came to an inn, he made a halt, and in his great content, ate up what he had with him, his dinner and supper, and all he had. And with his last few farthings, had half a glass of beer. Farthings. I don't know what farthings are, but I'm assuming they're coins or money. Farthings, Farthings. Look it up, and now you'll know a new word. Then he drove his cow onwards along the road to his mother's village. As it drew near midday, the heat was more oppressive, and Hans found himself upon a moor, which it took out about an hour to cross. He felt it very hot, and his tongue stuck to the roof of his mouth with thirst. "I can find a cure for this," thought Hans. "I will milk the cow now and refresh myself with the milk." Okay, that's a smart move, Hans. That's a smart move. He tied it to a withered tree, and as he had no pail, he put his leather cap underneath. Okay, you know what they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So not bad. Think about that. Necessity is the mother of invention. Hello. Okay. But try as he would, not a drop of milk came. And as he set himself to work in a clumsy way, the impatient beast at last gave him such a blow on his head with its hind foot that he fell on the ground and for a long time could not think where he was. Oh God, he almost had a concussion. So now the cow is dry as a bone. So he went from a lump of gold to a horse that, trotted but did its job, and now to a cow that has no milk, which is utterly dry. You got that? Utterly dry? That wasn't an original pun, trust me. I heard it before. Okay. Oh, God. By good fortune, a butcher just then came along the road with a wheelbarrow in which lay a young pig. "What sort of trick is this?" cried he, and helped the good Hans up. Hans told him what had happened. The butcher gave him his flask and said, "Take a drink and refresh yourself. The cow will certainly give no milk. It is an old beast. At the best, it is only fit for the plow or for the butcher." "Well, well," said Hans, as he stroked his hair down on his head. "Who would have thought it? Certainly, it is a fine thing when one can kill a beast like that at home. What meat one has! But I do not care much for beef. It is not juicy enough for me. A young pig like that now is the thing to have. It tastes quite different. And then there are the sausages." Okay, so he's not a beef eater, but he likes pork. I eat neither. And that's not a statement on any political statement or anything like that. But I just think it's interesting now. Now he wants the now he doesn't want the pig, but he's kind of searching for something else. Hans is in luck. "Listen, Hans," said the butcher, "out of love for you, I will exchange and will let you have the pig for the cow." I love it. They're all doing it for Hans's benefit, right? They're all saying that. "Heaven repay you for your kindness," said Hans as he gave up the cow, while the pig was unbound from the barrow, and the cord by which it was tied was put into his hands. Okay, Hans went on and thought to himself how everything was going just as he wished. If he did meet with any vexation, it was immediately set right. Presently there joined him a lad who was carrying a fine white goose under his arm. They said good morning to each other, and Hans began to tell of his good luck and how he had always made such good bargains. The boy told him that he was taking the goose to a christening feast. "Just lift her," added he, and laid hold of her by the wings. "How heavy she is! She has been fattened up for the last 8 weeks. Whoever has a bit of her when she is roasted will have to wipe the fat from both sides of his mouth." "Yes," said Hans, as he weighed her in one hand. "She is a good weight, but my pig is no bad one." Meanwhile, the lad looked suspiciously from one side to the other and shook his head. "Look here," he said at length, "it may not be all right with your pig. In the village through which I passed, the mayor himself had just had one stolen out of its sty. I fear that you have got hold of it there. They have sent out some people, and it would be bad business if they caught you with the pig. At the very least, you would be shut up in the dark hole." The good Hans was terrified. Oh, Gewalt, everybody's playing on poor Hans' stupidity. I mean, it should be called Hans is a schmuck. That'd actually be funny to do another version, Hans is a schmuck. The good Hans was terrified. Goodness, he said, help me out of this fix. You know more about this place than I do. Take my pig and leave me a goose. I shall risk something at that game, answered the lad, but I will not be the cause of your getting into trouble. Oh, here he goes, another one. It's going to help him out. He's being so thoughtful, so, selfless. So he took the cord in his hand and drove away the pig quickly along a bypath. The good Hans, free from care, went homewards with the goose under his arm. When I think over it properly, he said to himself, I have even gained by the exchange. First, there is the good roast meat, then the quantity of fat which will drip from it, and which will give me dripping for my bread for a quarter of a year. And lastly, the beautiful white feathers. I will have my pillows stuffed with them, and then indeed I shall go to sleep without rocking. How glad my mother will be. Okay. I wonder, as he was going through the last village, here we go, there stood a scissors grinder with his barrow. As his wheel whirred, he sang, I sharpen scissors and quickly grind. My coat blows out in the wind behind. Hans stood still and looked at him. Oh, God. Come on, Hans. At last he spoke to him and said, All's well with you, as you are so merry with your grinding. Yes, answered the scissors grinder. The trade has a golden foundation. A real grinder is a man who, as often as he puts his hand into his pocket, finds gold in it. But where did you buy that fine goose? I did not buy it, but exchanged my pig for it. And the pig? That I got for a cow. And the cow? I took that instead of a horse. And the horse? For that I gave a lump of gold as big as my head. And the gold? Well, that was my wages for 7 years' service. You have known how to look after yourself each time, said the grinder. If you can only get on so far as to hear the money jingle in your pocket whenever you stand up, you will have made your fortune. How shall I manage that? Said Hans. Here we go, another person. Another person is going to be so selfless. You must be a grinder, as I am. Nothing particular is wanted for it, but a grindstone. The rest finds itself. I have one here. It is certainly a little worn, but you need not give me anything for it but your goose. Will you do it? Oh, brother. You know what the schmuck's going to say now. He's like, oh, here we go. How can you ask? Answered Hans. I shall be the luckiest fellow on earth. If I have money whenever I put my hand in my pocket, what need I trouble about any longer? And he handed him the goose and received the grindstone in exchange. Now, said the grinder, as he took up an ordinary heavy stone that lay by him, see, what a hoodwinker. Here is a strong stone for you into the bargain. You can hammer well upon it and straighten your old nails. Take it with you and keep it carefully. Hans loaded himself with the stones and went on with contented heart. His eyes shone with joy. I must have been born under a lucky star, he cried. You must be my lucky star. That's Madonna, her first album, Borderline. Everything I want happens to me just as if I were a Sunday's child. Meanwhile, as he had been on his legs since daybreak, he began to feel tired. Hunger also tormented him, the tormenting of hunger. For in his joy at the bargain by which he got the cow, he had eaten up all his store of food at once. At last, he could only go on with great trouble and was forced to stop every minute. The stones, too, weighed him down dreadfully, just like that lump of gold, remember? Oy vey, Hans, you went from gold to a horse, to a cow, to a pig, to the goose, to the stones, and you're in the same damn place you were before. But let's see. He feels lucky, and that's all that matters. Then he could not help thinking how nice it would be if he did not have to carry them just then. He crept like a snail to a well in a field, and there he thought that he would rest and refresh himself with a cool drink of water. But in order that he might not injure the stones in sitting down, he laid them carefully by his side on the edge of the well. Then he sat down on it and was to stoop and drink, when he made a slip, pushed against the stones, and both of them fell into the water. When Hans saw them with his own eyes sinking to the bottom, he jumped for joy and then knelt down, and with tears in his eyes thanked God for having shown him this favor also, and released him in so good a way, and without his having any need to reproach himself from those heavy stones which had been the only things that troubled him. There is no man under the sun so fortunate as I, he cried out. with a light heart and free from every burden, he now ran on until he was with his mother at home. The end. Ooh, people who read, people. Wow. Okay, Hans in luck. Hans is a schmuck, but I'm going to say this. For me, the moral of this story is ignorance is bliss. But I also feel that's really not the moral of this story, but I will say this. Hans was very simple, as we know, and he got played by everybody. Everybody played Hans because Hans was simple and too nice. But the one thing about Hans we can learn is his attitude. From day one, he felt he was a lucky motherfucker. And because he felt he was lucky, even when he got tired or something happened and he thought he was in bad straits, bad way, something came to him to present him with an opportunity to better his situation. Now, what he did with the situation wasn't the smartest thing because, yes, he did not discern that this would not be the smartest thing to do. And he did not. So we understand that Hans made some stupid decisions like little Red did, right? You know, you make some decisions that sometimes you have to discern. But we are adults and we are not simpletons. So we know that we have to sit there and say, wait a second, this is not the smartest move to make. However, Hans kept saying he was lucky and fortunate. So he believed his own hype. And he believed he was. So everything that got presented to him, whether it was a good or bad deal, doesn't make a difference. He was still getting presented with opportunities to help him, as he thought, to the next step. And even though each one for us would be like, what the hell? First of all, none of us would trade a lump of gold because we couldn't handle it, right? We probably would have chopped off a piece of it and said to the guy, let me jump on your horse, take me home to my mom's house, and I'll pay you some of the gold. I'll give you a little chunk of gold. I mean, that's what we would have done, but then we wouldn't have had the story. But what I love about it is his attitude is he never gets taken down. He just feels like, okay, this was like, okay, this pig is, it's stolen, or the cow has got no milk, and then, oh, that sucks. But then he finds something else, and he's happy with his next decision. And then when the stones, which were basically useless, drop down the well on their own or whatever, he's like happier than a pig in shit and goes home and lives happily ever after. And the reason he goes home and lives happily ever after is because he's not a greedy guy. And also because he saw everything that happened to him as it worked out for him in his best interest. Now you're going to say to me, well, how's he going to support him and his mother? Doesn't make a difference. He'll find another job. Doesn't make a difference. And we don't know what his mother's got. But we're not talking this literally. We're talking about our attitude in life. We talk about this constantly, that we don't control anything that happens to us, but we control our attitude. And I think for a lot of us, and I'm going to lump myself in most definitely with this, after years of trying something and you feel like you're never getting ahead, you feel like I'm unlucky, and you keep saying that to the universe, I'm not lucky, I have no luck, I don't have this, I don't have this. And what happens, the universe notates that. Everything is energy. Your words are energy. So whatever you say out there actually takes form. So if you continue to believe you don't have any luck or nothing good ever happens to you, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is a fact. I'd like you to try one day. Now, I know we're during COVID, but try an experiment. And I don't want you to do the bad one. Because a lot of people wake up and like, this just isn't my day. I feel it in my bones. It's not going to be a good day. And then what happens? It all goes downhill from there because they've put it out there. Well, wake up and say, you know what? I'm so grateful for this day. I'm so healthy and happy. And you know what? I know today whatever comes to me is in my best interest, and I'm so grateful for it. And I know today is a day full of blessings. And I say it, and I say it, and I'm so grateful for it, and thank you. And just see how the day goes. Now, when I say blessings don't have to be where you got $1 million in the mail. It may not come immediately, but what happens is you're telling the universe, this is what I'm putting out there for the day. And if you want to really do the experiment, do it every freaking day of your life. You know what? Let's make that a challenge for all of us. Starting whenever you're watching this, tomorrow morning when you get up, you say, thank you so much for helping me be awake and alive, and I'm grateful to be here. And then I know today is going to be a magical day filled with blessings and goodness, and I'm so appreciative for it all. And let's just do that every day, the first thing we say in the morning. And you'll watch, fake it until you make it. You'll start believing it. But the thing is, things will start taking a turn for the better. Also, things that you never thought possible will come to you. And even if that doesn't happen right away, what happens, you're starting your day on a fresh, good note. You are. And that's your attitude. So why not start the day with the way you choose to start the day, which is with a healthy, positive attitude, that you are blessed, you are grateful, and only good things come to you. Now you're going to say to me, but shit happens. Yes, shit happens. But the thing is this, we've talked about it. Sometimes shit happens because it is the best thing for you, because it's going to help you get uncomfortable. It's going to help you grow. So if you see the blessing in it, you will then say, oh, wait a second, I am lucky. I'm being blessed by this, because what am I learning from it? It's not happening to me. We've talked about it. It's happening for me. So once you put in your mindset each and every day that blessings come to you easily and that you are worthy and you're grateful for it, it could be a month from now, 6 months from now, I don't know. But there could be the real big miracle that you've been waiting for. And you'll just be like, holy damn. So I'm going to put that challenge to you. And I think actually that's how we're going to end this one. We're going to end this one on the challenge for you to have the attitude. Thank you so much. I'm alive, I'm awake, and I'm breathing, and I'm so grateful for it. You word it the way you want. And I know today is going to be a day full of magical blessings. And I'm so appreciative and grateful for that. Thank you so much. And so it is. Whatever. And you just say it out to the universe. That's it. Say it every day. The first thing you think it and say it. Say it the way you want. But let's start putting it out there. Let's have collective consciousness all rise up, knowing that wonderful things happen. And let's be like Hans, not be like him as a schmuck, but always feel like we have luck. All right, my friends. So, hoping that you are staying healthy, mind, body, spirit, sending you tons of love and light. And until we read again. Yes, we will read again and again and again